Morning, my name's Ray. I'm with Team S.T.E.A.M. This morning I'm here at Flash Industrial Painting, but I'm not here to paint anything. Now the way this is going to go down is I'm going to keep my bigger drill bit over here by the wood. My smaller drill bit over here by the steel and nowhere near the wood. That way the wood drill bit doesn't make its way over here and start drilling way too big of holes by accident. When you get in a way of doing things, a rut kind of doing things, it can go good or it can go badly. It can switch right in the middle sometimes. So you want to make sure that you have that stuff straight. So I've got my smaller drill bit over here. I've got my screw gun over here. My screws over here. Is what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of these, figure out where it's going to go one at a time, and drill the holes with the small bit through the wood and into the frame and through the frame all at once. That way we have that one hole done. Then we're going to pull the wood up off of there, set it over here, drill the bigger hole through the smaller hole. So now that's done. The small hole's done, the big hole's done. Now we'll take this wood sealer and we'll do 3 sides of it. One of the top or the bottom, and it'll be the bottom of course. And then both sides. Side, side, bottom. Then we'll put the board on here, screw it in place, and then move on to the next one. Do the same thing to the next one. 3 sides, drill the holes, 3 sides sealed up, screw it on. And we'll do that all the way. Then we'll draw our design on it. Then we'll cut out our design with a jigsaw and get everything in Sawzall or whatever we have handy. And then we'll get it all cut out and finished. Then we'll go ahead and seal this final side that never did get sealed. And because it didn't get sealed, we don't have to sit and wait for it to set up for 24 or more hours before we go running a jigsaw over it. You want to ride along for the first couple boards? We'll do it in real time. All right, we're doing this. We take our board. We're going to put it down here. We're going to get our drill. And I don't mind this sort of thing. That doesn't bother me. You just make sure that the potential splinters are out of the way. Now we're going to put this board right down here past the ends, just past them, so you don't see those ends sticking out. See this right here? You're gonna watch for stuff like that. We're gonna peel it out of there, and then we're gonna put this up here. That's gonna work better in between rather than down here on this edge. We're gonna go past this. We want to make sure we have about the same on both sides. Doesn't have to be rocket science. And then I've got my fingers underneath here, and I can feel they're about the same. It's just under a 1/4 inch over. I'm going to hold it in place, line up my drill in the middle-ish. Now I've held it in there long enough to just mark this. I don't have to sit and hold this and drill the whole thing, just enough to mark this. Now, make sure you hold this tight. This board can't move now. Otherwise, your holes they're not gonna be the same. Now this board cannot move, you're locked in. So now, you come over here, get in the middle. You gotta line it up in the middle of the tray and of the little trough there and in the middle of the board if you can. And I can see my little mark right there. My little mark right there. There's one. There's 2. You see, I just drilled right through that little trough. I didn't drill all the way through this thing. I just drilled through this. That's it. Not through this. And the screw is going to end up somewhere in between, depending on the thickness of your board and the length of your screw. Now, I'm going to take this board, bring it up here, drill the holes out with the bigger bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my wood protector here. And we're going to do the bottom side and the 2 sides. You want to do the part that you're hanging on to very last. And this is clear. It's supposed to dry clear, and I believe it probably does. and you'll turn it around. I'll just hang that off the end there if you're looking to keep your fingers clean, and I generally do. Now we're gonna run it this way, put it here. Gonna get a couple screws and the screw gun. We're gonna go ahead and run it in here first. Then you're gonna wanna line your screws up with your little holes. So we'll take this board, we'll put it on here. Let's get my screwdrivers. And we'll put them right in here, just like that. So we'll drill one hole here. Mark the hole. Now we'll drill the second hole. Now I just went ahead and drilled the whole thing there. So we'll bring this over here. We're gonna drill these holes out bigger. We're gonna do 3 sides. We're gonna keep this side, so we're gonna do the other 3. Okay, got the wood protectant on. We'll take it over, put her on there. We don't necessarily need the spacers now because it's gonna go through the pre-drilled holes. I did try and just drill them both at the same time this time around because you can do it either way. Take our screws. Put them in. Line them up with the holes. Get it started in the hole. Okay, barely sunk in. Barely sunk in. But you see how it was a little bit of a wrestling match, just a little bit, getting everything lined up because these screws they're 2-inch screws, so they're fairly big around, which means that they get in here and they want to dance around and go with, you know, different directions. So it's a little bit of a hassle, but what did this just take me? You know, five minutes or less to put these 2 on, and they're sealed on 3 sides. They're ready to go. So we'll keep doing this, and we'll make our way all the way back into here. Then once I get into this area, I'm going to incorporate the ones of these boards that are thicker. Some of them are a 1/16 or almost an 1/8 inch thicker. I'm going to incorporate those back in here so I can still make use of them. And we'll go ahead and finish this out. All right, so we've got our basic chair done. Now we're ready to go ahead and pencil on our design so we can make plans to cut it out. Now, what I've done here, you can make whatever shape you want, but since I've already made these chairs, I want the ones that I make from here forward to match them. So I've just taken this piece of cardboard, traced it off roughly from the back side, then I'm going to cut out this design, place it onto here, and trace it again. And when you get your first chair done, if you're happy with the design, trace it onto some cardboard and do the rest of your chairs with that template, and they'll all match each other. All right, we've got it cut out. We'll just go ahead and place it on here at a height that we're happy with, and then we'll trace it on there. So now I've traced it on there. You kind of see the pen marks. And now I've got my bottom traced and cut out. I'm going to go ahead and put it on there and trace it onto there. You know, we've got our lines drawn on, and it's time to get out the tools we're going to need to cut this off. And my selection of tools isn't going to be the same as yours. I do a lot of this kind of stuff for a living. Not these chairs, but I do a lot of blue collar, hands-on stuff for a living. So I've amassed some tools over time. So I've got some choices. You may not have as many, but I'll show you a few of the common choices that are affordable that you could get if you don't already have. So right here we have a jigsaw. We have a Sawzall. And we have a handheld saw. And these are pretty darn affordable, and they'll go to any hacksaw blade. And some hacksaw blades can get very aggressive. And a very aggressive hacksaw blade is basically a very fine wood saw blade. So if you get a really aggressive hacksaw blade, you'll be able to saw through your boards pretty well with one of these and turn pretty good corners and get into some pretty good angles because, you know, these bend so well. And this is the most affordable option here. As for me, I'm using this. And again, I'm not trying to recommend a brand. I just happen to have a Sawzall that's battery powered. I use it for a lot of stuff, and it's a design that gets me in there at some pretty good angles. And I'll put this blade in it, which is fairly aggressive. We'll see how it works at first, and if I'm not happy with what it's doing, then I'll switch to a finer blade. But it's got the length I want, so I can get kind of into those odd spots, and there are a few. And so now that we've cut it out, we're going to go ahead and take our sanding device, whether it's a DA sander or whatever sandpaper we had on our hands, and we're going to go over all the edges and smooth them all up. Now we've got this smoothed up some, and I want to show you one of the pitfalls that you'll inevitably have is when you're cutting these, or you're mostly done. You get one piece entirely installed and all the pieces around it, and then you come back later to cut this off and a splinter comes up. Some of them are big, and some of them get just bigger as they go back in here. So rather than risking having a really ugly board or big splinters down here where they can catch on somebody's seat, I'm just going to go ahead before this gets out of hand and put some glue under it and then tape it down. That way it's just no longer an issue, and it doesn't change the looks of the project at all. Okay, so now I've smeared some wood glue in there and put some weight on it. Tape didn't work, so I just put a little weight on it, laid a hammer on it for a few minutes, and now it's good to go. And looks a lot better than it would otherwise. Now, as you can see, this is kind of a medium oak, and this is just bare wood, you know, naked wood. And like I mentioned before, this is a hardwood of which the origin of which I don't know, from 2 different pallets even. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it this way. I like this look, and I'm going to go ahead and put some clear on it, and this will be done. So there you go. 2 different variations. You can see this one's shorter. This one's got the longer back on it. This one's got the longer front on it. 2 different variations, but very similar, and in 2 different finishes. One clear, one medium oak. This one's 5 years old. You can see how well they hold up. I've never replaced a single board, single screw, anything. They've been blown over by the wind. They weigh 3 times what they ever weighed from the factory, right? They're pretty stout, but they've been blown over in the wind, and people have had missteps and dropped them, and I've never had one single screw come loose in 5 years on that one. And this one's built basically the exact same. So that about does it for this video. If you like what you saw here, go ahead and like and subscribe. That'll help me grow my channel, and then maybe I can do more and more and more videos like this in the future. In the next video, I'm going to go ahead and do a completely different design altogether on this chair right here. So if you like this one, you might want to check that one out. See you guys around.